Hi, this is Pirates for Pirates Gaming, and if you've paid attention to the channel, you've seen that I've been able to dig my way out from bronze all the way to platinum. And I want to talk briefly about some of the changes that I made to help me dig myself out of my placement hole. Now, the first thing that anyone who's played other fighting games will tell you is you cannot be playing on Wi-Fi. Now, cannot is probably a strong term, but if you want to be consistent, if you want to make sure you don't have drops, if you want to make sure that your frame data is as close to practice as possible, you really need to plug an Ethernet cable into your console or your computer. It does make a big difference. Now, my router is not very old, it's pretty powerful. I thought I'd be in pretty good shape, and I still ended up with different issues. They would be inconsistent, so I'd go through several matches, no issue whatsoever, and then a couple of matches with a lot of issues, and ultimately it just leads for a better experience. Like I said, more consistent with what you're doing in your practice training and with the minor frame delay, as opposed to potentially 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames of rollback delay, depending on how bad the connection is between you and your opponent. So get that LAN cable plugged in and make it easy on yourself. The second big change is in your settings to reduce input lag. Now, what this actually does is it allows the game inputs to run at a higher refresh rate than the actual monitor. When you're playing Street Fighter 6, whether it's on PC or on console, it is locked in fights to 60 frames per second. But that doesn't mean your input latency is the same between each of them. Now, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, they have very low latency. Depending on your specs on your PC, they're probably going to be about the same. Setting this one setting does make a significant difference in reducing input lag. Now, I will caution you that the one negative potentially is it can result in screen tearing, meaning you will see sort of, it almost looks like that there's a horizontal line in the image as it's moving. One of the displays I played on, it did have an issue. Another one, it did not. They were both normal TVs, 60 Hertz, playing through PlayStation 5. So if you're playing on a monitor with variable refresh rates, probably not an issue. Certain televisions can deal with it, not an issue. But if you turn it on, it might result in screen tearing, just something to be aware of. The next setting I would suggest you do adjust is actually going to be your music volume. Now, I will say the vast majority of the music for the characters I do like very much in this game. There are a couple of exceptions, but taking down that volume so you can more clearly hear the cues that are going on in your fight can make a big difference. A couple of good examples with that. One is the sound of drive impact. That can kind of give you that extra key to try and jump in there with your own drive impact to react, or if you're going to parry or whatever you're going to do. But that sound is instant. So as soon as you hit the button, it's coming out, or your opponent hits the button, it's coming out. You could hear that almost hissing sound that comes with drive impact. The other thing is certain characters have moves, and you can tell which version of the move is being used based off what the character says. The best example is probably Ken with his Jinrai kicks. So when he uses his heavy Jinrai kick, which is the one that generally is very difficult to punish, he yells out, Jinrai. The other ones he doesn't. And generally speaking, one of the things that Kens use online is they use the lighter Jinrais, the light and the medium, to try and continue on block strings when it's actually not safe. So if you don't hear Jinrai, you know there's some kind of a gap in there that you can try to exploit. But if you have your music up too loud, you might not even hear it. So some people like to zone out to music. Generally speaking, if you want that extra bit of advantage, turning the music down, if not off, can definitely impact your play. The next suggestion I have is try to set up your buttons, especially drive impact and parry, to something that makes sense ergonomically for you. Now, I've been playing on a 6-button controller that I bought separately, not the original pad. And they do set up the normal 4-button face pads to use drive impact and parry. And obviously you can hit your 2 buttons if you want to do those as well, but it's definitely more consistent and faster for you to hit a single button. So try to get that muscle memory in there. If you're doing drive impact, hit your single button for drive impact as opposed to hitting both heavies, or hit your parry button as opposed to hitting both mediums. The other thing that can happen too is that target combos, when you are using the first part of a target combo, for example, let's say Ryu's Standing Fierce has a target combo into the Standing Heavy Kick, which will be consistent for a knockdown, but it doesn't give you much for follow-up. So if you want to use a combo, let's say Standing Heavy Punch into OD Tetsu, well, if you slightly hit that heavy kick before you hit the medium when you complete your Tetsu, it's actually going to go into the target combo and not give you your special move. So I don't do that personally, but that's an example of something that you can use. So this game gives you the ability to create your button combinations. I would suggest minimum, use your parry, use your drive impact, get that single button response time, as opposed to trying to hit the two buttons and maybe not doing it quite at the same time. The next setting I would suggest you pay attention to is in your ranked modes or your casual, don't accept every single connection that comes to you. If you want to get into matches the fastest, you can set it up for auto accept, and as soon as a match comes in, you'll accept it, you'll jump right in. But the problem is you may end up on a crappy Wi-Fi connection while you're sitting there looking at it. You may see the bars go up and down, that yellow color, and it's just not great, and you're not going to have a great experience. Even though it's going to take a little longer, just have that confirmation on there so you can just quickly verify, do I really want to play with this connection or not, especially when you're in ranked mode. And the last change that I would suggest you make if you want to try and make a difference in your Street Fighter 6 gameplay, just from a settings or equipment or accessories kind of standpoint, is make sure you have a controller that's comfortable to you. Now that could be a fight pad, that could be an old school arcade stick, that could be a normal PS5 or Xbox controller. For me, I've been playing with the Hori Fighting Commander Octa, as well as the Victrix Pro BFG. Both have the option for a 6-button face controller, and that's what I learned original Street Fighter 2 on, and that's what I played on. So it gives me that extra comfort. I know I've got light, medium, heavy for both punches and kicks right there on the front. No, I don't use a claw grip or anything like that. And yes, I had to shell out some money to do it, but that makes a world of difference to me, because during World Tour mode, I was using the original PS5 controller, and I gotta be honest with you, I didn't enjoy that very much. I still had the same issues with hitting shoulder buttons and stuff. I know there are amazing competitive players out there who are playing on PS4 and PS5 controllers. I've seen it in tournaments. They've won tournaments. I get it. It's just not comfortable for me. So just, if you're comfortable on pad, stick with pad. Don't think that you have to learn something brand new or foreign. And like I said, in my case, I needed to go back to the original Genesis 6-button kind of setup, and I've done that with these two controllers. So, quick recap. Change that input delay setting. Hopefully you're on a display that isn't affected by screen tearing from it. Set that music level down just a bit. Make sure you plug in that LAN cable to make a big difference in your connection, and play the way most comfortable to you. If that's a 6-button face, you know, you can go out there and buy something like this that's not terribly expensive. If you're good on pad, cool, and don't expect an expensive fight pad or arcade stick or whatever other controller is going to give you a big advantage. Just go for comfort, go for consistency. Don't make it so that you're learning a game and a controller at the same time. That's going to do it for today. This is Pyrus for Pyrus Gaming saying thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments down below if this helped you out. And until next time, I will see you there.